Anybody live looping out there, I want to have a conversation with you because if you are like me, you might have come up against these problems. I want to talk about the state of looping in 2025. In my opinion and in my observation, looping has had two problems, and those problems are product and support. And product, I would split into hardware, software. Sometimes they're the same things. Sometimes, in very real ways, they're different things. So, looping the last 15 years has had a forward trajectory. It's come a long way, with Boss largely leading the way. And thanks in no small part to prominent celebrity loopers, the crowning jewel of which is Ed Sheeran. The problem with any industry is that once it starts getting attention and growing, is that you have a lot of people coming in, a lot of developers and manufacturers. And this is largely good because, in my opinion, they mean well. And but they also see dollar signs. They start to develop hardware and software that democratizes a lot of the industries that they're entering. So, as loopers, we've been treated to a large group of loopers, everything from the arrows to the head rush to, Loopy Pro. There have been so many things, even just changing apps to be able to use features of them to be able to incorporate in looping, such as Ableton. Boss itself even is guilty of this, of seeing the looping industry and being like, well, what if we created a looper that was more drum machine than looper, or like playing with a band and things like that. So after the explosion of hardware and software options in the market, we're left with crickets as far as support has gone because everyone entered the market, created their thing, and we're like, bloop. The problem with that is you end up with an issue of support. And I have faith that the developers are well meaning. Those of us on the precipice of looping have been largely left with, like I said, left without support, buggy software. And unrealized products is the particular problem. So you have two options. Either you embrace these largely flawed pieces of hardware with software on them, or you go about building your own. And there's open software out there that you can like build and create a looper with. But the problem is that every time you introduce a piece of hardware, you're introducing points of failure. Every time you introduce a piece of software, you introduce points of failure. So, unlike the Ed Sheerans of the world, we don't have, as live loopers, probably a professional team of hardware developers and software developers at our beck and call. So, my question to you, loopers, is what are you doing to solve these problems? Just to tell you a little bit about my story, I actually started on the Boss RC300, had a wonderful experience. I'm sure that it like went through iterations as far as its life cycle and things like that, but Boss is largely responsive. Let's not use the word responsive. It will regularly support hardware. The Boss RC300 was already an old piece of hardware by the time I entered the looping market 10 years ago. I moved to the Headrush Looper board, thought it was a great piece of hardware, and it still is, in my opinion. The issues with the switches and the buttons aside. But the problem was that the Headrush Looper board largely was really slow to be supported. I've moved to the RC600, and I gotta tell you, in 2025, I think that a baseline of hardware should be LED touchscreen with touch controls. The fact that in 2025 I'm dealing with an LED like one color display, a la like a watch face, to try to navigate these submenus that are in no way intuitive. That is shocking to me. But I bought one and I've been trying to incorporate it, and I've just been wildly frustrated. Let's call it that. What are you doing? Are you building your own unit? Are you spamming the companies for support? Have you gone back to previous hardware or software? Like, what are you doing as a looping community? The reason I ask this is because I've been coming up against this. I have been so unhappy with building my RC600 unit that I was looking at the Ed Sheeran loopers, and I went into that forum, and some of you who have spammed the Ed Sheeran support have seen that they were like, well, we designed this, like it's got Ed's name on it, and so we wanted to, give away for people who wanted to use his workflow, and their answer is like, you're using it wrong. We didn't design it for any of these things, which is crazy to me, because why would you not very easily increase a user base by adding a robust MIDI support and like reprogrammable buttons? Like, that is so, the hardware is already done. You built it, you manufactured it, your quality control is already done. It's just a software thing that you can add value to your product. So anyway, I'm genuinely curious about what you guys are doing, because I have just been I'm like staring at it on the ground as I've been building this, and I've just been the buttons are small on the RC 600 and they're close together, and the head, the Ed Sheeran one, I'll admit, like the buttons look super squishy and easy to use and fun and foot friendly, and I just like, I shouldn't have to buy new products to put on top of your product in order to make your product usable from a hardware perspective. So hit me up. Let me know in the comments. Create your own videos. I literally watch so many looping videos and people talking about looping and things like that. I'm curious. What are you doing? What are we doing? What is our strategy going forward? Like, how do we help fix this for companies? Or is this just a state of affair of companies and we just gotta, I don't know. If you're a brand and you're interested in my thoughts as far as like the probably 10 to 12 features that every looper needs in order to create a successful looper, I have opinions. Okay, that's all. I appreciate and love you guys. Keep making great music. Oh, I do have a Patreon. If you're a member of my Patreon, I created an album. It's all original music. I'm super excited for my album release. That's the end of my commercial. If you become a member of my Patreon, you get early access. It is coming out later this year. I will be releasing singles. That's less important. I want to know what you're doing as a looper.